Jeff, I got your message. Glad to see you whenever. I am waiting.
Good morning, Bill.
Couldn't remember how to get here.
Are you serious? I thought the bridge might slow you down.
I'm sorry?
I thought the bridge might slow you down.
It wasn't, well, that was one of the slowdowns. The major one was moving the utilities at the small roundabout,
Oh,
and it had traffic blocked off both ways.
uh,
And eventually I scooted through that plaza,
yeah,
was able to get to the bridge where there was a mysterious delay getting across. Of course, traffic was backed up all the way coming because the intersection, you
Yeah.
couldn't get through. But there was nobody working on the bridge, so I don't know why crossing this way was blocked off.
who knows?
And then I got through that and through on the way up toward Ray Hill. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden, there was another stop. They were trimming branches beside the road, so
So,
I left at 9:33.
whoa,
So a half hour,
it shouldn't take that long.
no.
Well, Jeff is trying to get on. He moved
Yeah, yes,
and he had hoped to use his laptop, I guess in his living room, so he would have space, because he doesn't have a basement space like he did before. But he's having some sort of issues with his laptop and he can't seem to get it to work, so I think he's gonna get on with his desktop in his bedroom where he can't move around very much, but at least he can be participatory.
yeah. How are you?
Continuing to improve.
Good.
Yeah, it's I would say, a little bit every day.
Mhm.
I've been through all the doctors. I've had acupuncture. I'm still doing chiropractic. I started PT and with someone who's doing craniosacral,
Yes,
and it's really working, I think. So well, I clicked admit. And I had a shot in my spine.
yeah.
What more can I do? I'm gradually walking a little more. It was really interesting. It drained my whole right side of strength. And
Yeah.
it's been a struggle, but I'm getting there. Hey, Jeff.
Hi. Hi, Bill. Hi, David. Did you get my message a few minutes ago?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna have to bring my laptop in. It's like 7 years old and it's not functioning. I had tested it before by hooking up the webcam, but I didn't actually connect to Zoom. I just made sure it connected to the webcam and it functioned and it found it and all. I assumed I could connect to Zoom. It's just not working right. And I think it's more than just Zoom. I think it's the age of it plus, so I'm gonna have to get it checked out.
Yeah.
I've got Geek Squad, so it should be covered. But I'll bring it in later today or tomorrow or as soon as I can. But
Yeah.
at least I can connect here in my bedroom. I got extremely limited space to move, but we'll
Well-
we'll work around that. Better than not being here.
Absolutely, we're glad to have you.
Yeah, good to see
It'll
you
be a
guys.
challenge
It's been a
doing it
while.
on the bed.
Yeah, I thought about it's a big bed too, and I thought about trying just practicing on the bed just in case, but nah, it's not gonna work. I've got this little floor area right here.
Uh-huh.
That's about it.
Oh, well.
I'll get it straightened out as soon as I can get the laptop functioning properly.
Yeah.
If not, I may have to try it on my phone downstairs and see if Zoom works on my phone. I could always do that next time, but I didn't want to start trying to work on that while you guys were waiting. So
Yeah, I have had people join using their phone, so
okay. So yeah, maybe it will function then. I mean, that's always a solution. Obviously the quality won't be very good, but at least I can move around and
yeah,
well, I'll give that a go too. I'll see how that works.
yeah. Well, we're all working through problems.
Yeah. I think that's just life.
Constant change. That's what we're
Yeah.
about here, learning to flow with change.
Woo way. That's my life. Woo way. Go with the flow.
So I'm progressing, I'm getting better. I'm not 100%,
Good.
but
Right.
I've gotten to where I can practice close to half an hour every day, so that's an improvement.
Right.
Because I had several weeks when I couldn't do anything at all.
Mm.
I at one point I said it was the worst pain of my life. I realized it was the second worst, but it was pretty bad. So
Yeah. Is this going all the way down your leg and everything?
all the way to my ankle.
Yeah. Wow. I've experienced that. I sympathize. It's really rough.
I never had that before, but it was weird. Just a simple movement that I thought I could make that I don't normally do.
Right.
And bam, I was there.
Wow.
I
So
know specifically.
okay.
I was my cardiologist had recommended that I put my feet up if I'm sitting at night.
Mhm.
And so I was sitting on the couch with my feet up on a hassock,
Mhm.
and it was too far away from the couch. I wanted it closer, and I bent forward
Yeah.
to pull it, and that was it.
Wow.
So what can I say?
Are you eventually going to get back to a point of zero or little pain on a regular basis?
Oh yeah, I'm back to when I'm sitting or lying down, virtually no pain. A little discomfort now and then, but
Right.
standing and walking is still an issue. I can do it for a while, but eventually I'll get into pain. But
Right.
I think, it seems to be getting a little better.
Right. When you're standing or walking or anything and it starts to hit you, does shifting your hips forward a little bit like that help you?
Um, Straightening my back and extending up, lengthening upward helps a little.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only ask because that's the one thing that I found helps me the most when I am in a bad position or in a lot of pain on my lower back. I shift my hips just a little bit to the
Yeah.
front, and it just does enough to open up whatever it is that's pinching that nerve.
Interesting. I'm doing I'm doing PT with a craniosacral therapist, and
Hmm.
the first exercise she gave me was to simply extend my left leg as fully as I can and hold it for a count of 5, do that 5 times morning and night. And that made a noticeable difference. Was really interesting. It's simple, not very much, but
Yeah.
it was really significant.
Just one leg?
Just one leg,
Yeah.
left
Because it's
only.
your right side that's,
Yeah,
yeah,
because it's your right.
so this pulls something away from the nerve, yeah.
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 And I've also, my chiropractor wanted me to do, just to use my ball and do some exercises with the left arm only. The same principle, I think. So interesting things.
Interesting.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna move backward here.
Okay.
So you've had about 5 weeks to practice.
Hasn't been that.
So I guess my first question is, what if anything came up in your practice that you need to ask a question about?
Go ahead, you go, Bill.
Wave hands.
Uh-huh.
I started paying attention to the hands crossing the center line.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten all confused
Okay.
about how that happens with
Uh-huh.
the turning, yeah.
Mhm.
So, what felt perfectly reasonable before now, since I'm trying to do that, it just got all
Yeah.
discombobulated.
Okay.
The other thing, on the form, right, well, that is the form, I found myself leaning, probably you know this, but it finally sank in that, when I do weight shift, I generally
Yep.
lean to accomplish that rather than just shifting the weight.
Yep.
So I've been, that requires reconfiguration too, so I've been
Good.
trying to work on that, so.
Jeff?
Can we have a little bit of a review chat about lengthening?
Sure. I think it's, in a way, it's one of the most counterintuitive of the internal principles. Because it's doing something we just don't normally do, particularly in the West. Lengthening, eventually you want to be doing lengthening throughout the entire body. But we, of course, start with the arms because that's the easiest place to be aware of it. And in order to lengthen, you have to let go. You have to relax.
you can stretch out and stretch a little further than you want to go, because I've now locked all my joints. And you've also blocked the flow of the energy. But if you can relax and open and allow every joint to open and extend, there's no interruption to the flow of the energy as your arm extends further. It's it's just really hard to believe that at first. But we're constantly doing it, and we're lengthening out, and we're lengthening in, which obviously is part of, contributes to opening and closing, which doesn't, those do not have to have much movement. They can, I mean, we can certainly open out, lengthen and open out, and close and lengthen in and have more movement, as much as that. The amount of movement is whatever your level you're working on in a particular form. But the lengthening itself and opening and closing can happen without there being any significant movement whatsoever, because it's internal. It's what's happening inside the body. You have more question about that, Jeff?
Maybe a little more clarity on the lengthening in. How we're trying to do that.
So lengthening is particularly related to movement of the ligaments, tendons, and fascia. So we're not using the muscles. So when you lengthen out, you are, in a sense, a word that we can perhaps relate to, we're stretching the ligaments and tendons and fascia. And when you relax that tension, it automatically contracts in. So it's obviously, or maybe not, but at least for me, it was easier to understand lengthening out, because the word tends to lead us to that. But
Right.
you understand that this is talking about the elasticity of the ligaments, tendons, and fascia. And so they're like rubber bands. So when you stretch them out and release them, they come in. And then you can stretch them out and they'll come back in. And so it is more related to that kind of, that sense of movement of like rubber bands than using the muscles.
Okay, that's where my confusion comes from, because as I've been lengthening out, I have not, in my mind or in my body, been doing any sort of stretching. I've been releasing and just relaxing and releasing, and that leaves me with no real tension to draw it back in. So I wasn't really sure what we were using to lengthen back in.
So you're not actually lengthening then, because the lengthening
No.
in is automatic. It's not,
Hmm.
you don't have to do anything. Lengthening out takes more, well, to my mind, takes more intention than lengthening in. Because lengthening out requires a real letting go. And once you've arrived at that, the fullness of that, lengthening in is automatic. It just,
Okay.
So it's it's like so much of the internal work. This is not what you're doing with your muscles or what you're doing with your mind. It's more really learning to allow those internal soft tissue to function in a way that
Mhm.
they would naturally function if we let go.
Right. Okay.
But as I said, it is particularly the lengthening in is for many people, I think, one of the most counterintuitive of the internal principles. How
Right.
about for you, Bill?
I was just thinking, lengthening in terms of where I practice it, maybe in God's in 5, where we're not extending as far. It's a lengthening in feeling to me.
Yeah.
As far as lengthening out, I'm still having to play mind games with myself. It's not natural yet, but thinking of the bones on either side of the joint coming apart more, whether it's the wrist, elbow, shoulder, that kind of thing. So I'm still visualizing,
The other thing to remember is that we're ideally only bending the arms to 70 or 80%. So the lengthening is not when we start out, we can have lengthening here, but it's not here. It's here. And then as you go into G, it's lengthening in and lengthening out. Very small. But
Right.
it can happen with the arms bent, or it can happen with the arms extended. But we don't want to fully extend the arms, because then we will block the flow of the chi.
Hmm. Okay.
Other questions there, Jeff? Because I really understand how you're struggling, but it is something you have to feel. I can't feel for you.
Right. Yeah, I'll, as other questions arise, I'll ask them.
Okay, yeah.
That refreshes some things that will help and that I kind of forgotten as well.
Yeah.
So,
And again, one of the easy places or easier places to practice this is the 8 gates,
right.
because you're doing a series of movements where you don't have to worry about where your feet are, other than the
Right.
tight shift of the weight. And so you have the ability in whatever position you're in to lengthen in and lengthen out. And so it's part of that movement.
Mm.
And I certainly use the 8 gates as part of my learning to really feel and understand that. I mean, that 8 gates training of Master Joe is brilliant, and it gives you the opportunity to work on every internal principle, whether you're looking at it from Master Joe's words or Bruce Francis's words. You can work on all the same principles in that practice, and it's wonderful and demanding. I mean, I have an 8 gates class at the moment, and we've been going for, I don't know, I think we're in our 3rd year. And we're, you know, they're still primarily working on the single arm movement and the double arm movement, not even the form. I mean, we've learned the form, but
Right.
so it's, you know, there's just a huge amount. So somebody was asking me, actually, I think it was my PT, because she's really very positive about Tai Chi, but when I mentioned that I still study after 38 years, she was a little surprised. And it just points to the complexity and depth of Tai Chi. You don't ever get to the end of it. It's
Right.
never perfect.
Yeah.
Master Liu said to Bruce one day that he said that a couple of days earlier he had gone to do his practice and he had gone through the form, and it was the first time that he got done, and he said to himself, that was perfect, I don't know what else I could do. And the next day he did it better.
Huh.
And he was an extremely highly developed man. So
Right. Huh.
so let's do the 8 gates.
Okay.
And certainly for you, Jeff, to be aware of lengthening as much as you can. And last time we were together, you were working on or making some progress with elbows.
We'll see.
Of stepping out from the end of center. And just settling into your basic structure. Allowing your qua to relax and soften. Opening the legs all the way down through your feet and into the earth. Allowing your breath to slow and lengthen and to be continuous, connected. No pauses or holding the breath. Releasing upward. Feeling the base of the skull open. And by way, connect to the universe. And then take a moment to focus on allowing the chi to sink through your body. Dropping the chi your body can no longer use down into the earth to be purified and recycled. And extending your mind through your body and beginning to feel that flow in both directions. And flowing into the 8 gates. Lengthening in, lengthening out, lengthening in and out.
So. I have to sit for a minute. Um, so Jeff, did you have any sense of lengthening in that?
Yes. You know, I have a sense of it as more so out than in, lengthening out than in. But now that I'm thinking about it a little bit differently, I can, I think, at least work on lengthening in a little more properly.
Okay,
I do have one question that came back to mind. I'm remembering, and I may be misremembering, but I'm remembering that I think I asked you this once before. Where are we actually trying to ultimately lengthen from? And I think you said the base of the spine.
well, I'm sorry, I missed part of your question, so would you say it again?
Uh, I think I asked you this like 2 months ago or so, and I want to know if I'm remembering this correctly. I know right now we are focusing on lengthening in and out with the arms, but do we eventually want to get it going all the way to the base of the spine? Is that where we're lengthening from ultimately? Or is it somewhere else?
Um, that's one of the places that it could be, yes.
Okay, so I remember that correctly. What, is there any others that we should know about at this time?
Well, if you are doing bend the bow and shoot the arrow with it,
Right,
then the lengthening of the spine is coming from the middle of the spine.
okay,
You could also be doing it from your dantian. That's probably it.
okay,
As much as you need to worry about at the moment.
right.
I was thinking, Bill, I hadn't thought about it before, but a couple of days ago, it came to me that the reverse breathing and moving the energy to the three dantians, that would be a good thing to work on in this. If you haven't thought of that.
I think of it every once in a while, but you know, I haven't deliberately practiced it. So, that's more.
What?
Well, I have been trying to get the elbows moving
Yeah.
and have these doing nothing. Essentially,
Being responsive.
yeah, being responsive and get the movement from here.
Yeah. So wave hands. That is a little tricky because our tendency is to, as we're making the circles, to swing our hands across the center line.
Yeah.
That absolutely. And I think at the moment I'm gonna turn and face you since this is your question. I can turn and do it towards you if you have more questions, Jeff. But
Okay,
we come out of this
Mhm.
and everything is coming in. But notice at this point that my hands are equally on each side of the center line. And they come to the center line here.
Okay,
I'm right on the center line.
okay,
And then they come back, and obviously here they're going to be
equally spaced.
Yeah.
If I can put it in the right place. And then as you go here, now this one is the one where we tend to feel, because it's a smaller movement, we tend to feel, oh, we've got to
Yeah.
move our arms out here.
Yeah.
No, we don't. As you're turning here, they only go as far, if you can only turn that far, that's where it is.
Okay.
You don't, it doesn't have, we talk about going to the side, but it does, that doesn't mean crossing the center line.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of just keeping, initially, you've got to keep your mind focused on where your arms and hands are in relation to the center line of the body. But eventually that, I think, flows pretty easily.
And turning the ball from what I just observed is
So
mostly
on
that.
on the left, one of the things you're trying to do here, okay, is as you turn here, you're not turning to this position. You're turning to this position.
Yep.
Because you have to step and then rotate, and you have to keep the rotation going. Here, because you're going to have less rotation, you don't have to, you come to here. But when you come back to here, you come back to that same diagonal holding of the ball. So you have room with the step to keep the ball moving.
Okay, I think I had gotten into a habit of somehow massaging the ball all over the place, but yeah.
All you're doing actually, initially, is when you get to here, is you come in with your energy. And here it goes out to this point. And then it comes back in to the center. And then it goes out to here. And then it comes back in to the center. Then it goes out. That
Yes, it's actually simpler than I was making it.
good. Do you have a question in there, Jeff?
No, but this was, well, I do actually, this was a good review because I often, or I rarely think about in this posture about crossing the center line. So I usually do cross it.
Yeah.
But it brings to mind, I have one question related to this. Is there actually any postures in this form that come to mind where we do cross the center line?
Not really. We come to the
I
center.
couldn't think of it. Right, right.
Certainly not, I'm just trying, it's a good question that I haven't thought about for a while, but basically,
No, I haven't either. I was just wondering if this was like, if that was a rule in this particular form where we just never cross the center line.
it's a rule in the Yang too, but not as rigid. There are
Right.
places in the Yang where we cross, but in the Wu, it is kind of an absolute.
Yeah. It seemed more so, especially because with the Wu, our movements are smaller and all. You know, we really don't want to. That's my feeling about it.
Yeah. And
Okay, good.
as you progress in practicing this form, it gets smaller and smaller.
Right.
I mean, we have to start large because otherwise we don't know what we're doing.
Right.
Eventually, the movements get smaller and smaller, but they also get more complex. I mean, when you think about even just that very first movement, there's so much going on in that grasping sparrow's tail.
Mm.
I mean, you were talking about lengthening.
Yeah.
So it's lengthening in. It actually starts from lengthening in, but we've talked before about the fact that before you begin, you're actually working on finding how you're opening and closing. That's also including lengthening out and lengthening in, lengthening out, lengthening in, lengthening out, in, out, in, out.
Hmm.
So it's, it's going all the way through it.
Yeah, it's interesting with grasping sparrow's tail. Now when I practice, I have to think of that sequence way more carefully than I did when we first learned it.
Oh, yeah,
Even though,
absolutely.
I put so much more thought into it now than I did initially, just to try and get all of the things we've since learned into it.
Yep. You had another question too.
It wasn't a question, it's just working on leaning
Oh,
or not leaning.
I was, when you said that, I was thinking, Bruce has talking about that issue, has said one of the things you have to really think about when you shift your weight is dropping your butt into your heel. If you're thinking about that, you're not going to lean with your chest.
Yep.
That's kind of a gross way of thinking about it. But there is definitely something to that because we are trying to get our attention into the dantian and the qua, and making our weight be down and on that foot so we can have more control. I'm not perfect on that by any means, but particularly right now. But I understand the principles very clearly. And it does help whether you get it once every 4 times or every time. When you feel it, the movement becomes easy. There's absolutely no difficulty in making the step.
Actually, I bumped into it by surprise. I'm working on my balance with, PT and stuff, and I'm reading a couple of books, and they're talking about center of gravity and building the foundation and sinking, getting the weight. And I mean, if you're this way, you
That's the way you fall.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. So, one of the things that I guess I think about, because it was one of the ways that I approached that, was I really made myself remember not to just always flow, but to say, well, where is it I'm having a problem? And then just practice that 10 times. And try to get, try to get your butt into your foot. Or as Bruce always talks about, or every once in a while is mentioned, when he was first on Taiwan at one point, and he was having difficulty with that. An older Chinese woman said to him, "You have to fuck your foot."
Okay.
You gotta get the energy to go down into your feet. So Jeff doesn't have a lot of problem with that. He's too young.
I like being called young. Keep it up.
Well, compared
And
to.
I don't hear it often. I don't hear it often, so. But no, I mean, I've got my issues with it still. It's the whole back thing still, you know. I
Yep,
gotta be careful of the way I bend my back too.
yep.
So. But it is interesting when you said that, dropping the butt down. I just got up and I tried it, and it's just like an instant difference in rooting feeling and in feeling my center drop a couple inches. My whole body center just, it's pretty good. It's a good suggestion.
It really is. When you can manage to do it, so often as we shift onto one foot, we tend to start tensing up. And what we need to be doing is relaxing into it. As always.
Yeah.
But we're afraid of relaxing, we're gonna fall over. But actually, that allows us to open and drop our center and to actually have better balance.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
what time do you go watch on?
I can tell you the time, David. It's 10:58.
Oh, okay. So Jeff can't flow
Okay.
in his.
I can flow, but I'm gonna have to adjust numerous times.
Okay.
And
Well,
I actually tried it. I have flowed in this small spot a few times, and I can do it, but I have to stop and adjust a few
Yeah.
times. So it's doable.
well,
Better than not flowing at all.
Actually, maybe before we do that, where is one of the places that you have real difficulty with the balance?
Anytime I have to turn and move one foot around the other,
How about gargoyles, Bill? Is that a problem?
Yeah.
'Cause I have some trouble with that stepping back and not stumbling kind of thing.
so going into the kick before that,
Yeah.
that turn.
I mean, going into,
Mhm.
yeah,
So any of those, yeah.
well, that one's pretty easy. Because we've gone into. So here you're coming back.
Yeah.
And here.
Yeah.
And then you're already on this leg.
Yeah, that one doesn't, really give me.
So,
Yeah.
here you're just coming back in, step.
Yeah.
And into gargoyles,
Yeah.
gargoyles. And then here, yeah, you've got to come to this point.
Mhm.
And particularly right now, my balance is really not good,
Mm.
but. You have to get to this point and you can take that moment. Let it interrupt your flow at the moment and feel that you've got some sort of balance that you can relax into that so that you can do something. Even if you have to can't catch yourself when you come back.
Well, going from, let's say, here, when I have to
Oh, yeah,
step around, those things, and then the next move,
yeah. I can't do that one at the
Yeah.
moment.
yeah,
But the thing I can tell you about that is one of the key things, just watching the way you did that at that moment, is not stepping too close to yourself,
okay,
because now you're trying to.
yeah,
So when you get to this point, one of the things is to make sure that you step further back and around so that you can turn here.
Okay.
And
Mhm.
actually, that wasn't too bad that
Yeah.
time.
Well, don't do it again.
No, I probably shouldn't. The gargoyle, offering incense, that's a tough one.
Mhm.
But the interesting thing about that is that our tendency is, what we're doing that kick. Our tendency is not to step far enough around. I really can't do that one at the moment. But you have to, this leg, in order to get stability in that gargoyle's position, you have to get this leg at least behind, if not crossed past the other one, so that you have stability on there.
Yep.
If you're here, it's not the same thing. I mean, you can have stability, but that's a bow stance.
Yeah.
It's not what we're trying to find.
Right.
So, good,
I'm sorry?
I just thought we ought to talk about some of
Yeah,
that a little
yeah.
bit more. I didn't mean to just jump over it. So, want to do a flow for me? I'm just gonna watch you.
What is this?
Just if you step back a little further, I think.
This way?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, oh, okay, out. Okay,
If you have more room.
this is an older one.
Yep. So, not bad. That seems to me there was even in places some improvement. So in wave hands, one of the things you're trying to do is never let the hands freeze. So that's part of why on the left side, you're in that position so you can come around, and this keeps on going to here so that there is continuous rotation there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel myself pausing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a timing issue in there. The other thing, because you had raised this before, I'll just say that it looks to me like you are slightly leaning forward most of the time. So really thinking about straightening a little further.
Yeah, well, I admittedly wasn't focused on it this morning, just now.
Mhm.
But in Sparrow's Tail, there are various points along the way where I've been correcting myself at home, you know,
Uh-huh, good,
you know,
yeah,
get back.
yeah,
And it's not, you know, like that, but
it's
it's
like,
just that, you know, which
Yeah.
is
small,
tilts the whole thing off.
yeah. does. But I, I noticed that with stepping further around, that seemed to help you
Yes, yeah,
reach, a little more stability in
Yeah.
those, some of those turns.
Yeah.
The thing about, and talking about that, the one I noticed was gargoyles. Gargoyles, you want to remember that you're actually putting your feet in the position of a bow stance.
Mm.
You're not going into what you're in. So when you come out of, um,
Yeah.
yeah, incense.
Yeah.
You can let yourself rise a little, but you need to turn and step so you can turn to complete the position. And this one turns and completes.
Yeah. That's,
So you end up in a bow stance, but back weighted. Yeah.
I know that's messy, to say the least, yeah.
So, Jeff, any last minute questions for you?
No, nothing right now.
Okay. Good luck with your laptop.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, I think when we hang up here, I'm gonna see if I can get a Geek Squad appointment to drop it off today.
Okay. Good. Well, it's really good to see both of you.
Yeah, you too.
Yeah,
Thank
One way
you.
or another, I'll be here next week.
Great. Look forward to it.
yeah.
Have a good
Take
week.
care, guys.
See you, Jeff.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye,
Bye.
Bill.